Well, we ended the last lesson stranded on second base, but we are not ready to move to third base yet because we still have some homonym pairs that are confusing that we need to discuss. So let's go ahead and go through those very quickly. We have pain as well as pain, P-A-I-N and P-A-N-E. What's the difference between the two? You've probably noticed that in oral communication, you don't have to know the difference between the two. It doesn't make any difference because they're pronounced the same way. But if you are going to write these things down, you need to know which one is which. So let's look at P-A-I-N for a minute. That's something that hurts. You're in pain. And P-A-N-E is a piece of glass, a pane of glass. So we could say Lynn cried when she felt the pain of her bee sting. But we would say the clear window pane, P-A-N-E, allowed Kathy to gaze out at the soft clouds in the sky. Two different words. Make sure that you get them right. How about pray, P-R-A-Y, and pray, P-R-E-Y? Pray, the first one there means to make an earnest request. This is what we do when we talk to God. We pray. But the other one means to hunt or to victimize an animal that is hunted. It can also mean the victim. In other words, it can be a verb or it can be a noun depending on how you are using it in a sentence. So if you're hunting for something or that thing that you are hunting for, that is pray, P-R-E-Y. So let's just use those in a sentence. Mr. Jacobs knelt in the chapel to pray. But pray the other way, the spider ate his prey. All right, how about these? Principal and principal. Of course, they're both pronounced principal. That first one is not pronounced principal, but I like to pronounce it that way because it reminds me to put the P-A-L at the end instead of P-L-E at the end. And what is a principal? Well, the first one is a noun. It's the person who holds the highest rank, or it could be an adjective meaning the main or the most important. All right, so think about a principal. A school has a principal. He should be your pal, your school. Your dad is probably your principal. He should be your pal. Remember, spell it with a P-A-L. Okay, also it's used then as an adjective. It's the main thing. It's the most important thing. This principal point. All right, now principal with an L-E on the end is always a noun, and it's a basic truth or it's a guiding policy. You learn principles by which you need to base your decisions on, and you learn those principles from God's Word. So we have principal, would be my dad is our homeschool principal, and principle with an L-E on the end. Freedom of religion was a founding principle of the United States. You see how they are two completely different words. They're homonyms. They sound alike even though they don't have anything alike in their meaning. All right, how about this one? Prophet and prophet. Profit, okay, P-R-O-F-I-T, and then we have with a P-H-E-T. The first one is a verb. Means to benefit or to earn. It can be a noun meaning a gain or income. If you are discussing money and you're investing your money, you're looking for ways in which you can make a profit. That is with an F-I-T at the end. The other kind of profit is the kind that you would find in the Bible. This is a predictor or the interpreter through whom God spoke. In the Old Testament, we have the books of the major prophets and the books of the minor prophets. That's P-R-O-P-H-E-T, the one in the Bible, the one that's referring to a person. Okay, let's see these used in sentences very quickly. Profit with an I-T, the company gained profit from the rise in the stock market. The other type of prophet, Isaiah, was an Old Testament prophet. All right, we've been through part of the list today. Part of it we got in the last lesson, but I'm sure you can remember all of those as we finally make it to third base. For practice the skill 13.5. This is on page 255. It's very similar to what we did with the last time when we were just trying to decide which word is correct. We just have to choose the correct word from the two words that are given to us. So the first sentence, our 7th grade class has been studying about Pennsylvania. This spring we went to Harrisburg, the capital of Pennsylvania. Which capital are we using? Think, Harrisburg is a city, isn't it? Which one of these refers to the city? That is the A-L spelling. All right, number 2. The Capitol was modeled after the Paris Opera House. Now, the Paris Opera House is a building, right? Don't you think this sentence is also referring to a building? It's not referring to the whole town was modeled after that. No, it's just the building. So which one is the state legislature meeting in? It's meeting the Capitol with an O-L at the end. All right, number 3. The principal thing people remember about Pennsylvania is that it was in Philadelphia that the United States Constitution was adopted. All right, which one are we thinking about? The main or the man? That's A-L, or the idea here. Which one is it? It's the main thing, A-L. All right, number 4. It was also in Philadelphia that the Continental Congress met to lay down the principles of government. Which one? It's the first one, isn't it? The other use of that word principle, or the other spelling of the word principle. All right, our next sentence, Benjamin Franklin, who suggested that Congress pray before each session, lived in Pennsylvania. Pray, that is talking to God, P-R-A-Y. I used to live in Pennsylvania for a while, and I was able to see where Benjamin Franklin lived. That was always neat to get a study about him firsthand. I trust that maybe you've had an opportunity to do that as well. All right, let's look at our next sentence. In Philadelphia, Robert Greene invented a popular dessert, the ice cream soda. Hey, we want 2 of those, don't we? So let's do it with the 2 S's for dessert as opposed to desert. Number 7. The panes in the windows of your house may have come from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. One of the world's largest glass manufacturers is based there. Your house doesn't hurt, but it does have panes. It has P-A-N-E-S. Number 8. The third day of our trip, our principal took us to Gettysburg, where Abraham Lincoln delivered his famous Gettysburg Address. This, of course, is referring to a person, isn't it? If you'll think it refers to a man, and remember the A in man goes with the A at the end of this, then you will choose P-A-L as the ending spelling for that word. Number 9, I must admit that I did profit from our trip to Pennsylvania. Were you gaining something, or were you giving out information? You were gaining, right? And that's profit with an F-I-T. And our last one, next year when we study United States government, we will visit the Capitol in Washington, D.C. All right, think about what you're visiting here. Are you visiting a city within a city? Well, no, you wouldn't say we're going to visit the city within Washington, D.C. That wouldn't make sense. So you know it has to be one of the other 2. Which one is it going to be that our United States legislature meets in? Capital C and spelled with an O-L at the end. Okay, once again, these are not difficult. You just have to learn them. And it might mean that you have to open your book to the page all this information is on and study them if you don't already know them. But let me give you a chance to practice them on your own as you finish out the basis by going home. I want you to use the skill 13-6. This is on page 256. All right, now for this, it's very similar to the others that you've been doing. Notice you've had a lot of use the skill where you've had to look at somebody else's writing and decide, did they use it correctly? So if you find an incorrect word, circle it and then write the correct word on the blank. If the sentence is correct, fine, just put a C on the blank or write correct if you would rather do that. All right, so if you would, go ahead and pause the program and complete Use the Skill 13-6 on page 256. Well, let's see how you did with those. 10 sentences, here we go. Number 1, you should have circled Capitol and written it with an A-L at the end. Number 2, you should have circled Capitol again and written it with an O-L at the end. We're talking about a building here. For number 3, it is correct. We have the right form of capital this time. Number 4, profit. Wrong kind. It needs to be an F-I-T. They're gaining from the situation. Number 5, pain is incorrect. It needs to be P-A-I-N. Somebody's hurting. Number 6 is correct. Number 7, principal is the wrong one. We're talking about the main place to see, so that's A-L at the end. Number 8 is correct. Number 9, principles is wrong. We're talking about L-E-S on the end in this situation. And then the last one, prayed, talking to God. That's an A-Y. And then, of course, the ED ending here. All right, I trust that you got all of those just fine. We are ready to start around the bases again. Now, let me just tell you right now, we're not going to get all the way around the base. In fact, we're going to kind of camp out at first base for just a little while. So let's go ahead and start out here at first base. Review of these homonyms, as well as a review of some of these troublesome words that we have talked about. Remember, your assignment was to write a short little story, kind of telling your own version of a story that you've already known, but yet using some of these troublesome words. Well, I have a story that I would like for you to watch, and this story is The Three Little Pigs. As you watch it, I want you to listen for any words that have been used incorrectly.
Once upon a time, 3 little pigs set out to rise their own houses. The first little pig had just finished lying the last bit on his straw house and sat down to rest when there was a knock at the door.
Little pig, let me come in,"
said a big bad wolf.
"I ain't accepting any visitors,"
said the little pig. So the big bad wolf blew down his house, and the little pig scurried off to his brother's place. The second little pig had just laid the last few sticks in place as his brother arrived, followed closely by the big bad wolf.
"I ain't accepting any visitors either,"
the second pig said, slamming the door in the wolf's face. So the big bad wolf blew that house down too, and the 2 pigs scurried off to the third pig's place. When the wolf saw the third brother's brick home, however, he had to come up with another plan. But between the 3 pigs, they had come up with an alternative plan as well. When the big bad wolf didn't see any smoke raising from the chimney, he hopped down it straight into an pot of boiling water. Let's just say he didn't sit down or lay down for a long time after that. The end.
Well, I trust that you enjoyed that story, but there were some problems, weren't there? Did you pick out all of those problems? Well, let's go ahead and take a little slower look at it and see if we can make some corrections. All right, we start off with the 3 little pigs. There they are. And the story starts off, once upon a time. Is that right? No, it's not once upon an time, it's once upon a time, because we have a consonant sound there. All right, the 3 little pigs sit out to rise their own houses. They didn't sit out, they set out, didn't they? Are they rising their houses? No, they are raising their houses. So rise should be crossed off, and we should write raise. All right, next page. The first little pig had just finished lying. Now, I realize you don't have the rest of the sentence, but what comes to your mind right then when you see just that much? That he told a lie, right? But I'll tell you, this is a transitive verb, so how does it need to be changed? Instead of lying, he should have laying. He had just finished laying the last bit on his straw house and sit down to rest. He didn't sit down to rest. Wrong tense here. He sat down to rest, right? When there was an, now the next word is knock. Is an correct or incorrect? An is incorrect because the next word starts with a consonant sound. So we have to cross that off and put A. All right, there was a knock at the door. Good, nothing has to be corrected on this one. Let's continue. Little pig, let me come in, said and big bad wolf. Problem? Yes, said a big bad wolf. Now, if you wanted to correct that by putting said the big bad wolf, that would be fine as well, okay? But the idea here is I want you to know when to use a and when to use an. So let's continue our story. I ain't accepting any visitors, said the little pig. Well, what is he supposed to be saying? Never use ain't. Not even if you're a little pig. Need to correct that. Put in the proper words or a proper contraction here. I am not, or just I'm not. Accepting? No, it's accepting. ACC. Any visitors? Said the little pig. So the big bad wolf blew down his house, and the little pig scurried off to his brother's place. The second little pig had just lay the last. Now I'm going to tell you, I know you can't see the next set of words, but there's an object, which means that we have to use a transitive verb, don't we? Now we have a transitive verb there. We have the verb lay, but is it the right tense? Notice the word had there. We have to be using the third principal part, that past participle, so we have to say lay, laid, laid. He had just laid the last few sticks in place as his brother arrived, followed closely by the big bad wolf. Good, no corrections on that page. Here we go. I ain't accepting any visitors either, the second pig said, slamming the door. What's this supposed to be? Same correction we've made before, right? Don't use ain't, and accepting should be accepting. I'm not accepting any visitors, said the little pig, slamming the door in the wolf's face. So the big bad wolf blew that house down too, and the two little pigs scurried off to the third pig's place. When the big bad wolf saw the third brother's house, however, he had to come up with another plan. But between the three little pigs, let's stop right here because I think there's a problem. What should we be saying? Instead of between, we have three pigs, don't we? Between is for two. We need to use among when we have three. Okay, but among the three little pigs, they had come up with an alternative plan as well. Ooh, I see a problem. Do you see it? It's not a alternative. That even sounds funny. It's an alternative plan, isn't it? When the big bad wolf didn't see any smoke raising from the chimney, oh, we have a problem, don't we? Smoke is raising? No, the smoke is rising, isn't it? He hopped down it straight into an pot of boiling water. Oh boy, somebody's having a real rough time with a and an, aren't they? An pot? No, pot starts with a consonant, so we have to say a pot of boiling water. Let's just say that wolf didn't sit down or lay down. Ooh, two problems here. He didn't sit down or lie down for a long time after that. Now, I read it correctly, but how is it written? It's written and an is incorrect. It should be a long time after that. The end. Boy, can you do it correctly without any kind of mistakes when you write it? I trust that you did. In fact, you might want to have someone check over yours to make sure that you used your troublesome words correctly. Now, there still are a few more troublesome words that I would like for us to go over in this lesson, so let's quickly get on to second base. Second base is more homonyms and troublesome words. All right, we're going to look at some pairs again, seeing which one is which. Which word are we supposed to be using? We have roll and roll to start with. Roll, R-O-L-E, is a noun. It is a part or a position that an individual plays. For example, I would say I played the role of Portia in The Merchant of Venice. That's a part that you play, or the biblical role of the wife is to be a submissive helper. However, you probably also like this kind of role, and what is it? Well, as a noun, it can be a register or a list or a portion of bread. And as a verb, it can mean just to roll over, something that you might want to do if you were going down a hill or something. So to use this in a sentence, you would say something similar to, Mom gave me a roll to eat with my dinner. Or, roll down the hill. It's fun. Boy, roll has a lot of different meanings, doesn't it? And that's one reason, too, when you look something up in a dictionary, don't stop with the first definition, because you can see these definitions can really be different from each other, can't they? All right, how about stationary and stationary? Which one is the one that you write on? Well, let's take a look at the two. Stationary is spelled with an A-R-Y when it is an adjective meaning unmoving. In other words, if you are saying that something stays in place, the stationary pole supported the weight of the building. That pole doesn't move at all, does it? And if you don't want someone to move, you tell them to remain stationary. In this situation, while I brush your hair. So that's not the kind you would use for letter writing, is it? But if you want to write a letter, remember letter has an E, L-E-T-T-E-R, and it needs the stationary that also has an E, that ends with an E-R-Y at the end. So that is a noun, which means writing paper. I wrote a letter to my mother on flowery stationery. My favorite stationery has green leaves printed around the edge. Okay, see the difference between the two? Those are really pretty easy to keep straight. Which one is which? If you just remember that little clue about the E in letter and the E in stationary. But what about these two words? They're not really homonyms, but we have than and then. Which one is which? I hear people use these incorrectly all the time. The word than is a conjunction. It's used to introduce the second part of a comparison. For instance, my shoes are bigger than your shoes. Not then, but than your shoes. Or Ohio has a colder climate than South Carolina. I have a comparison here. Then, however, is used as an adverb, and it usually indicates time. You use this all the time when you're telling what's happening. We'll go to the bank, then we'll stop somewhere for lunch. If you go, then I'll go. It's telling about a point in time here, isn't it? All right, how about these problems right here? To and two and two. To is a preposition, often indicating direction. And I would use it to say, are you going to the game with me tonight? Now you already know these, or you've already been introduced to these before, so I am going to go through them rather quickly. Our next one is TWO, and of course that is a number word. You know what that's used for? You would say Susie's wearing two bracelets on her left wrist. And then TOO, don't forget that second O when you are referring to this as a word meaning also or very. It's used as an adverb. And you would say, there are too many dogs in this neighborhood, or I would like to go too. I would like to go also. Oftentimes you'll find that one at the end of a sentence. And then you have a couple words that are confused again because, well, where and where. You know, W-E-A-R, this means to have on, or it means to damage, like to wear something out. But you would say, I will wear my boots. Why? Because it's raining. The other where, we of course know it means something totally different, and that's W-H-E-R-E. That's an adverb indicating place or position. You'll use it oftentimes when you're asking a question, where is my book bag? I can't find it. Now this next word is very similar to this one. People get it confused all the time. It's spelled similarly, but it is not pronounced the same. It is the word were, W-E-R-E. No H in this one. And when we talk about what it means, it is the plural past tense of the verb be. We were. Okay, we could use it in a sentence to say we were riding our bikes when the rain started. Now this word also gets confused with one other, and that is W-E apostrophe R-E. Now that's contraction, and you know what to do with contractions? Split them apart. What two words does it stand for? It stands for we are. So if you see it spelled that way with an apostrophe in it, you know that it stands for we are, like we are going to a church fellowship after prayer meeting. All right, all kinds of troublesome words. I do want you to practice with them. For your assignment, you're going to practice with them a little bit, and then we'll practice with them in the next lesson. But right now, I want us to move on to writing across the curriculum and see if you can hit a grand slam. Now, the information on page 265 talks with you about writing a travel brochure. And perhaps this is nothing that you would aspire to do, but what would you have to do if you were to write a travel brochure? You'd have to analyze your audience, wouldn't you? You'd have to decide, would I enjoy this place? What would I like about it? What wouldn't I? Use pictures and just try to match each picture that you choose with some kind of descriptive word or phrase, because a travel brochure can really give a lot of information.
Hi. Beautiful day, isn't it? Hey, that's a nice newspaper you have there. I mean, I love reading the newspaper. There's lots of exciting places around the world. I mean, like you look like you got a pretty good job. Do you travel much?
Yeah, I travel from one hotel to the next, it seems like. After a while, they all look the same.
That is awesome. Getting paid to travel. Hey, have you ever been to Casablanca? It's a city in Morocco, the west of North Africa. It was pretty famous in World War II.
No, I've never been there.
You should go. I mean, I can tell that you would really like it there. It's the largest city in Morocco, and right on the edge of North Africa, it's got modern boulevards, spacious buildings, and boy, is it clean. Yeah. I mean, of course, the old city is quite picturesque. More what you would expect in an Oriental kind of setting, but there's all the French architecture. And if you've never been to the Avenue des Forces Armées Royales and the Place des Nations Unies, I'm telling you, you are missing something special. Another interesting thing is the city walls. They're lower than most, but very unimposing and fascinating.
Huh. What else is there?
There's the Mosque of Hassan II. It's actually built on the water, and it was only completed in '93.
That's interesting. Is it pretty expensive? Is the weather nice?
I mean, you can find a hotel with vacancies pretty much anywhere in the city, but the food is like twice as expensive than other places in Morocco. And the weather is very pleasantly warm because you're so close to the Sahara Desert, and then you can always go to the beach. So it's really great.
Sounds like a really neat place.
Yeah.
When was the last time you were there?
Me? I've never been there. But yeah, I got this travel brochure in the trash can at Joe's Pizza Place, and I've been reading it ever since. Yeah.
Wow, do you think you could pack that much information into a travel brochure? Well, it's something you might want to try, and maybe you don't even want to come up with an entire travel brochure. After all, I'm not making this assignment for you, but I want you to think about a place that you have been or a place that you have read about and see how much information you think you could pack very quickly into some type of advertisement for that. Now, for your assignment, I would like for you to practice some of these troublesome words by completing Use the Skill 13.8 on page 259.